All right guys, a lot of you have messaged me about your wiring for your HR swap, and quite frankly it's scary.
They're ready to harvest. Art. Bits and bobs.
For starters, let's talk about the chassis wiring, because that seems to be what people are the most confused over. This is really no different than doing like a traditional SR20 into an S13 chassis. We're not actually going to modify or change any of the chassis wiring. So on your car that you're swapping your HR into, you're going to keep its original body harness intact. Don't cut anything, don't really change anything. There is one ground that you'll have to move. We'll show that to you in a minute. But other than that, we're just specifically dealing with the engine harness alone in this scenario, just like any other swap and any other chassis. So some of you guys have messaged me saying you're trying to swap your dash harnesses out and it didn't plug in here and there. That's definitely not the way to go about it. So we're going to overview what it takes to do the HR swap into it with having the wiring service done like you would with a Guilty Garage. I believe there's a couple other companies that accommodate this now. Definitely check in with whoever's going to do your wiring service first to see where you would need to cut what wires out of the donor car. But like I said, I want to reiterate this, we're not cutting any wires on the car that we're putting it into. You're actually not cutting any wires at all in your car. So just want to make that really clear. We're not swapping chassis harnesses, we're not swapping bulkhead harnesses, and we're not cutting anything. One more time. DE chassis that the engine's being swapped into, do not cut wires. Don't swap body harnesses. Don't cut wires. Stop cutting wires. You're going to be cutting some wires on your HR donor car, but on the car that it's going into, the DE chassis, no cutting. Stop it, please, for all of us. So next thing, whenever you're removing the engine from your car or from your donor car, whatever it may be, don't remove the engine harness from the engine first. Leave the harness on the engine because it's much easier to get to and unplug everything once the engine's out of the car. There's only going to be 3 plugs under the dashboard on a DE. That's going to be under your passenger side by the kick panel. There's one for the ECU, one big white one also for the dash connector, and then there's another smaller one for the grounds. Once you get those undone, you can just pull that harness back through. Make sure that you get those others by the fuse box on the fender apron. Drape that back over the top of the engine, and you're going to pull all that out together. It's much easier to deal with out of the car than it is inside of the car. I see a lot of people that are doing it and draping the harness over the windshield wiper. Things are getting damaged. Doing it this way is going to make sure your wiring harness doesn't get damaged in the process. Nothing will get snagged. It'll all be on the engine. When you remove the DE power steering reservoir, which is on the corner of the strut tower, and you install the HR one, first off, for mounting, I just drilled a hole. You can drill a nut and bolt if you want, but I put a riv nut or a nut cert if you're familiar with those. We're not going to go over that in this video. But once you move the power steering reservoir over, you're going to notice it's in the way of the body ground. I just simply moved it over a few inches to the right. I drilled a hole, nut and bolted it, make sure it's scuffed real good so it gets a good ground there. On the other side, your engine ground now is different, and generally that will be with your HR wiring harness. If it's not, you'll need to purchase that separately. But there are these 2 right here that bolt to the top of the front cover and go over to your original airbox mount. Now, your original airbox mount for your DE only has one 10mm bolt hole. If it's a 06, I believe it has both. But if not, like mine is an 03 chassis, same thing that I did over there. I just drilled the second hole, nut and bolted, make sure that it was scuffed and it had a good ground. That's all you're going to be doing for wiring. There's no cutting at all. Like I said earlier, you're just going to move those 2 grounds, then take your engine harness, package it up, follow the instructions with the wiring service and company that you're using, send that in, and when you get that back, it's going to be 100% plug and play for your car. You won't need to change anything, just plug it in and go. Hopefully this helps you guys. It is very simple. It's very easy to overcomplicate this. I do realize this may open up topic for more questions. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions. We'll be glad to help you. Let us know if this video was helpful to you, if it answered all the questions too. So, there you go. All right. I don't think you can say action. It's the end of the movie. What movie is this?
Stranger Things season 2.
Season 350. What?
All right, I'm